of a paradox, and we have His Grace
No sé qué pasó. ¿Se cortó lo de él? A ver, ¿qué está pasando? We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I don't know what happened, but we lost you for a second.
I don't know what happened either. Krishna just kicked me out. The contradiction is I am there and not there, but the thing is it's paradoxical, right? And so paradoxes are not contradictions is the basic philosophy of what we call in India achintya bheda abheda. How does this work in the modern world was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's project. He figured out how Krishna consciousness or Krishna bhakti, which was rejected by all of the modern thinkers of India that came before him, like Ram Mohan Roy and others, right, was accepted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say in English. Right? You cannot reject the traditions of India just because it doesn't suit your agenda. And to be able to maintain a balance between paradoxes takes a lot of fine-tuned effort. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life was a living example of that. Now think about it. Here is a gentleman born in 1838 at a time when India was being taken over by colonial powers. He lived a very lavish childhood, but lost his father very young and was cast into so much poverty that you cannot imagine. When he was 14 years old, he had to become the head of his family and earn for everybody else. He didn't know where to go or what to do. Somebody told him, you can go sell sugar in the streets of Calcutta. And finding no other means of employment, he was selling sugar in the marketplace of Calcutta. And then he figured how the people who were giving him sugar and setting the prices were actually cheating customers and consumers. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that even though I was starving, I will not commit this kind of dishonesty and cheat people. When he was a little older, he became good friends with one of the leading intellectuals of India in the Tagore family. And Rabindranath Tagore from that family was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was studying with them, he never compromised with the truth just because they were influential people. And right when he was almost getting established as a good student and an enterprising professional in Calcutta, suddenly he heard that there was an epidemic in his village. We are all going through a pandemic right now. But remember, in those days, there was no Zoom, there was no means of communication. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that I heard this news and I started going back. And the more I got closer to my village, the more death and destruction I saw. I saw my childhood friends who I used to go to school with lying on the streets, their dead bodies swollen and pungent, with dogs and jackals eating up. They were my friends. I saw people groaning in their homes with nobody to come and rescue them. And going in the middle of such a situation was dangerous because you would get the disease. And then when he finally went home, he saw that his entire family had been wiped out. Gone. Right? And it is this experience that made him write songs like Manasha Deho Geho Jo Kichu Mor Orpilu Tua Pade Nando Kishore Sampade Vipade Jibone Morone Dai Mamo Gala Tua Upado Borone. Whatever I have, my mind, which was going crazy, seeing so much death and destruction, my body, my home, whatever I have called mine so far, I give it at your feet, Krishna. Whether I have great wealth, I am very well off, or I'm totally broke, vipad, and I'm in so much danger, I don't feel any pressure. I don't feel any burden because it is now your responsibility. Marobi rakhobi jo ichha tohar nitto dashaprati tua adhikar. Whether you keep me or whether you kill me is not my business, because I am your servant, and how you treat me is totally your decision. So sometimes we read these songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and there's, we experience some spiritual potency, but that spiritual potency gets increased manyfold when we actually look at the struggles that he was going through before he wrote those realizations. And so as he was growing and he was struggling with finances, with his career and everything, his grandfather told him that at this particular age, you will get a very good government job. And after making that prediction, his grandfather passed away. And this grandfather was a mystic. And so he predicted the time of his own death. He said, at this time, I will leave. And he sat in meditation at that time. And everybody around him saw that the crown of his skull cracked and by itself, and he passed on. Right? And just as his grandfather had said, he got a very good government job. However, in this world, remember, sometimes more tears are spilled over answered prayers than unanswered ones. When we get what we want, sometimes...
For the translation of that.
Yes. More tears are spilled over answered prayers than unanswered ones. When our prayers are answered, sometimes it brings us more misery. And when they're not answered, we feel miserable, but it's actually for our benefit. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says he was desperate to get a job, and he got a very good job. But after he got the job, he was constantly being transferred from one place to another. And in the years where he had his career, he had 14 children. And he raised all those 14 children. And he was also constantly sick. And so during morning, he would go to court, he would judge criminals. And then in the afternoon and evening, he would come back and rest. And he would write this. Do you see his handwritten manuscript right here? The songs that we sing every day. How many of us know the song Tulasi Krishna Preyashi Namo Namo? That's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How many of us know the song Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chader Arati Koshoba? That's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How many of you have heard the song Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Vijana Vallabha Giri Varadari? Radha Madhava was the deity of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Orissa. Kunja Vihari was the name of his deity in Navadip, Sharabganj. Gopijana Vallabha was the name of his deity in Calcutta. And Girivaradhari is who he worshipped. So when we...
Sorry, can I ask a little bit slower because I'm listening to the translator and he gets a little bit lag behind. So a little, I hear you perfectly, it seems slow, but for the translation it's a little bit...
I'll slow down.
No me traduzcas, ¿verdad? Empieza. Solo digo que hable más despacio.
So Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari, Gopijana Vallabha, and Girivaradhari are the name of the deities Bhaktivinoda Thakur served. So when we sing the song, before every Bhagavatam class, before every lecture, we are remembering the deities of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When we do our evening program, we are singing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song. When we take prasad, and I will show you the manuscript, Sharira Avidyajal Jarendriyo Tahekal Jibe Phale Vishayo Shagore. It's a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When you sing Bhoga Arati, Bhaja Bhakata Vatshala Shri Gaura Hari, Shri Gaura Hari Shahi Goshta Vihari, Nanda Jashamati Chitta Hari, Bela Holo Damodara Aisha Ikhana, Bhogamandire Boshi Karo Bhojana. So this is a meditation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur on Krishna coming to eat his lunch. So this is the whole ISKCON program that we have is based on the meditation techniques that Bhaktivinoda Thakur taught us. And he was also very funny. In the Bhogarati song, you know what he writes? When Krishna and his friends are eating, shall I tell a bad joke? A Bhaktivinoda Thakur joke? They make farting sounds with their armpits. They make farting sounds with their armpits. Bagolo bajai, ar daye haribol. And when they make a farting sound, everybody goes haribol. So Krishna enjoys with his friends, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur reports like that. And Srila Prabhupada is the most fortunate member of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family, who has taken some of the most austere steps to bring this beautiful message of love of Sri Krishna to places where there was no opportunity for any of this to be ever known. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that every time he tried to do something in his life, he only found obstacles. He became the deputy magistrate of Jagannath Puri. And right when that happened, he stopped corrupt officials from exploiting pilgrims and stealing money. And these corrupt officials, including the king, became so upset with him that they started doing black magic. And they got 100 brahmanas to do a yajna for 1 whole month, just so that the deputy magistrate is dead. And every day the yajna went on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got sicker and sicker and sicker till he was unable to move from his bed. And his wife kept telling him, why don't you just go and say sorry to the king? Just stop this. Your life is more valuable. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, more valuable than my life is my service to Lord Jagannath. I will not compromise with the truth. If the Lord has to protect me, I will be here. If the Lord wants to take me, I will go. And after 1 month, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was 1 inch away from death. And somehow, mystically, when the yajna ended, the king's son died and Bhaktivinoda Thakur came out of his sickness. Now, for ordinary people like us, we don't understand all these mystical things. But the fact remains that Krishna will take his devotees through all kinds of trials and tribulations. And the reason is, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in this song, and we will just read this one song before we call it a day, so that we learn the art of praying effectively. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, I will focus on the art of praying effectively. The magistrate side of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is well known, and I recently finished translating a 200-page letter that he wrote to his son, giving all the details of his life. And I would hope that within a very short time, it becomes available in Spanish as well. The other piece of good news that I have is among us, we have a Vaishnavi who finished translating Bhaktivinoda Thakur's essay on the Srimad Bhagavata. And yesterday we released Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Spanish Bhagavata on Amazon. And so Krishna Shakti Prabhu can share the link with the friends here in this group. And the Institute for Vaishnava Studies will hopefully continue sharing the works of Bhaktivinoda Thakur more and more in as many languages as possible. Right? But to continue with the art of prayer, this is what Thakur says. Of all things in this world, the rarest of the rare is real love. If you look at what people do every day, the Vedic Shastras point out to 4 activities. We humans are constantly striving for justice. We don't like injustice. But justice also requires that we do our duty. Without responsibility, there can be no justice. This is called dharma. And what is the responsibility? To have integrity, satya, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17. Saucha, hygiene and cleanliness. Tapa, enterprise, endurance. And daya, which is empathy and compassion. This is dharma. So we humans, we have our societies and we organize ourselves so that these things are met. This is the foundation of civilization. Then the next thing that we are looking for is money and wealth, artha. Right? The third thing is desire, especially a desire to be with somebody, to have relationship, and particularly romantic relationship. Even if we are with our fathers and brothers and sisters, something keeps telling us, now Valentine's Day is coming, so you will know, that unless you have a romantic relationship, life is incomplete. So that is called kama. And then the fourth aim of life is freedom. If you restrict an animal in a small cage, they will go mad, they will become stressed. When the pandemic started and lockdowns happened, when people were, put in their homes with their movement restricted, people started becoming very agitated. So freedom is inherent to every living being. And in particular, freedom from all kinds of bonding, all kinds of attachment is what we're looking for in life. But Mahaprabhu points out that beyond these four is one thing that makes life worth it, which is the experience of real love. Ottanta durlabha prema koribare dan shikhaya sharanagati bhakatero pran. So to give the gift of love, Mahaprabhu has taught how to pray in a way that we can fully surrender. How to pray? Sometimes we pray and we think our prayers didn't work. In fact, many years back, I did a university level research project with my students on intercessory prayers. The major data for that came from a research grant given by the Templeton Foundation. It's a very big foundation in America. And they did experiments on people who pray while their relatives are on their deathbed to see whether prayers work or not. And their conclusion was it's a 50-50 chance. Prayers don't work. It follows the rules of mathematical probability. Right? And sometimes when I was teaching at that college where I did this experiment, I would drive really late at night home, and I would have to pass through many blocks of graveyard. And in America, the rule is if you don't pay taxes and you're poor, you don't get the facilities that everybody else gets. And because dead people don't pay taxes, they did not put the lights there. So it was a long, dark road in the middle of graveyard. And I was doing this experiment. Do prayers really work? And I am a reasonable human being. I don't believe that life works like horror movies. But when I was driving through those dark roads alone, I would sometimes look at the rear view mirror just to check. Hope nobody's sitting in the back, because they show it happens in horror movies. And sometimes I would sit and sing to myself. And whenever I sang to myself, I would feel less alone and less scared. And I asked, is this how prayers work? Am I just fooling myself to believe that I am not alone? And the answer came in the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, no, that's not how prayers work. He says, Sharango Sharanagati hoibe jahar taharo prarthana shune Sri Nanda Kumar. That there is a process by which we must learn to pray. And when we pray like this, our prayers are heard. The first step, and there are 6 steps, the first step in praying effectively is to humble oneself, is to realize how insignificant we are. One time, Srila Prabhupada told my spiritual master, Tamal Krishna Goswami, who was in a position of leadership at a temple in North America, to bring the Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, you have these planets with Krishna everywhere. And he says, this Krishna's creation is unlimited and the material world is just 1/4 of it all. And within this entire material cosmos, which is vast, you have one medium-sized universe. And in the middle of that, there is a one medium-sized star called our sun. And that has one planet called Earth, which has many continents, and one country called United States of America, in one city, right? And in one temple, with one temple commander who suddenly thinks that I am the Lord of it all, that I am the master. He said, actually, if you think about who you are, you're very, very small and insignificant. So giving ourselves significance is against our own self-interest when we are praying. When we know that we are insignificant, the things that we are praying for actually will not matter at the end of the day, then we can pray with a clear head and effectively. Dainya, to humble oneself. The second is to apply oneself, right? The moment you start being transactional in prayer, and in India, this is very common, especially around this time of the year, there is a festival called Saraswati Puja, the worship of goddess Saraswati. And Saraswati Puja comes in February, and the school year ends in March with final exams. So 1 month before final exam, the entire country, students of the entire country become very pious. And you will see them lined outside these temples. Ma Saraswati, you make me pass this exam, I will give you, so much money. And in some places of pilgrimage, they will have trees. And they will say, oh, if I tie this ribbon on a tree and make a prayer, this will come true. So they will go to Jagannath Puri and say, if you make this happen, I will give you this, right? And sometimes those who worship Kali will go to Kali and say, Goddess Kali, if you give me a good wife, then I will give you a whole goat in sacrifice, right? So these kind of business transactions keep going on between people who want things and demigods or devatas. Demigods is Old English, divine beings who can grant them. However, none of the people who pray like that actually apply themselves. They will never say, please take me. I'm yours. They will always want something from the other person. But real prayer happens not only when we humble ourselves, but we also offer ourselves. Dainya Atma Nivedan, applying oneself, offering oneself. The third is to accept that I am not the boss. There is somebody above my head. This person is way more powerful. And Srila Prabhupada pointed out that each one of us follow someone else. We make someone our hero, whether it's a politician, whether it's a movie actor or an actress, a sports person. Who is the very famous football player in Argentina? Ronaldo?
Messi.
Right? People want to become like that. And so we all look up to someone who is more powerful than us, who's more beautiful, who is richer. But none of these people are completely rich, powerful, strong, and so on and so forth. Right? And we also know that when we surrender to someone who is more powerful than us, then we get their shelter. To pray effectively, we must accept that at the end of the day, I'm under the shelter of Sri Krishna. Goptritte Bolan. That I am not the boss. Not everything will happen according to my desires. In fact, I'm insignificant. I've not even applied myself. How will prayers work? So if we start thinking like that, that's when prayers will start working. The fourth is to have the conviction, Obosho Rokhibe Krishna Bishasho Palon. No matter what happens, I will be protected. No matter what happens, Krishna will protect me. Right? That's why I said the story of this king of Puri and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that at the end of the day, I will be protected. And so the moment you think that no matter what happens, Krishna will protect me. And if I may add something more, Krishna is a drama king and Radharani is drama queen. So their job is to do drama. And they will do drama with their devotees. That's what they love doing. And in that drama, sometimes they will take their own beloved bhakta and say, now you pretend to be my enemy. I will fight you. And they will take us and use your anxiety. So Krishna's father, had to escape with Krishna in the middle of the night. I mean, Krishna is Bhagavan, right? He could have stopped the storm, but no, there has to be storm. The water in Yamuna has to swell up. The guards has to fall asleep. And then Krishna's mother says, this child will also be killed. Please escape. It's too much drama, but Krishna loves that. So next time there is so much drama in your life, remember, it's not your drama. It's Krishna's drama. If it's your drama, then it becomes Maya, Mahamaya.
A little more slower.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm enjoying very much, but the translator sometimes gets lost.
Yes. Sorry. I'm not used to speaking and getting translated simultaneously. So I thank you for reminding me. Krishna is the biggest drama king. He loves doing drama. And he does drama with everybody, except those who don't realize they are in God's drama. They are in the material world. And those who realize they're in God's drama and they play, they're in the spiritual world. This is the only difference. So when we turn inward, we can, in our meditation, take part in Krishna's drama. When we turn outward and we think that we are the hero, then we become sufferers in the material drama. And all our prayers at the end is about material drama that we experience every day. I have done this exercise with a lot of people. I'm not going to do it here today. But I often get my friends to write down what are the biggest trouble points in their lives. And everybody thinks that their problems are unique. And then I bring out 5 buckets. Bucket 1, called small problems. Car not working, rent hasn't been paid, I need to buy shampoo and the store is not carrying the shampoo I want, small problems. Big problems. I don't like the President of the United States. An asteroid is coming to hit the earth. I read in the news a few days back. I don't know if all of us will be dead. So there are 2 problems. Other 3 problems, career/money, health problem, and relationship problem. These are the 5 problems, 5 categories of problems everyone has in this world. And when we are...
5 again? Sorry.
5 problems. Big problem, thumb, small problem, pinky finger, career, health, relationships. Career means also money. Relationships, these 5 problems everybody is struggling with. And this is the drama of life. And when we pray so that we get what we want in one of these 5 areas. When I did this exercise in New York, most people say they pray for a parking spot. The city is so crowded. They are praying for a parking spot. When I go to hospitals, people are praying for their sick relatives. That's relationship. Or people are praying for a better education, better job. But none of these prayers are actually for oneself. But when we humble ourselves when we apply ourselves, when we realize we are not the boss, when we know Krishna will protect us, then our prayers turn inwards. And two more things that happen. Whatever is favorable towards one bhakti, we have to do more. And whatever is unfavorable to our bhakti, we have to reject. So, if going to pilgrimage to India is unfavorable towards our bhakti, then we should not go. On the other hand, if that's going to that same pilgrimage is favorable towards our bhakti, we should go. Narottam Thakur says, Tirtha Jatra Parishram Kevalo Monero Brahm. Going to pilgrimages is just bewilderment of the mind. Because then you travel so much, spending so much money, and all you see is a pond. Right? Real pilgrimage happens when people get together and hear and speak about Krishna. And so this Zoom call is a better pilgrimage than many people who are maybe in Vrindavan right now, who are complaining that the city is so dirty. You see? So depending on whether what we are doing is favorable towards increasing that rare thing called love that only Krishna can provide, we will not know how to pray. And our prayers will be governed by the rules of material statistics. And Gandhini actually, is an expert on statistics and probability. She can tell us how prayers work. It'll either be a hit or miss. But when we actually pay attention to these 6 limbs of Sharanagati, right, then we notice that prayers actually start taking effect. Because at that stage, all you're really praying for is to know yourself, to be yourself, and to enjoy your self, not yourself, your self, your Atman. So to be yourself, to realize that, love can happen on the level of the body. Love can happen on the level of emotions. Love can happen on the level of our ideas. That's what intellectuals and conferences do. Love can happen on the level of our ego. That is what is happening when sports teams are playing or 2 countries are at war. People get very agitated. My country got attacked. That's love on the level of one's ego. But when we dissolve all these boundaries of love, then we have real love. And that real love is on the level of consciousness. And when we start praying like this, the nature of our prayer keeps getting more and more and more refined. And then, I have heard people say on memes that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. If that is true, then Sharanagati is embracing God. And how does all of this work? It does not happen in one day. It happens over time. And I'll finish with a small English poem. I don't know how it will sound in Spanish, but I'll leave it to the translators. As children bring their broken toys with tears for us to mend. Sometimes children break their toys and they bring it to us. Baba, fix it. As children bring their broken toys with tears for us to mend, I brought my broken dreams to God because he was my friend or she was my friend. But instead of leaving God in peace to work alone, I hung around and tried to help with methods that were my own. So sometimes we think we know better than God. At last, I snatched them back and said, God, how could you be so slow? My child, God said, what can I do? You never did let go. And so Sharanagati, the art of effective prayer, is the teaching of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where we learn how to let go. When we think we are the boss, when we think we are big, when we think we cannot apply ourselves, when we think we can fix everything, when we think we don't need any protection and we can just keep doing whatever we are doing and it'll all work out, then we are self-sabotaging. The moment we calm down a little bit, we tell ourselves, you know, I'm not that big. And this won't work till I fully apply myself. And I'm not the boss of it all. I accept shelter of someone better than me. And I feel calm and composed. I don't feel anxiety because I know Krishna is going to protect me. And let me look at my own life and see what is good for me and keep doing those more, and see what's bad for me and get rid of those. When we are in that state of mind, then we become a true follower of the mystic and magistrate we call Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Remember, 14 children, constant illness, a transferable job. And in spite of that, he wrote 100 volumes of literature. He didn't have a dictaphone. He didn't have people transcribing for him. He wrote next to his candle, and he wrote this, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of this. And then he would do this, and then he would wake up and he would go to court and hang out with the politicians, the policemen, the criminals, judge cases. And these criminals who he punished became his enemies, and they would harass him. And then he would come back home and he would say, all these children are your children, Krishna. I'm just a servant in this family. And here is your paper, here is your ink, here is your pen. I'm your servant. Whatever you want me to write, I will write. And the stuff that he wrote has impacted each and every one of our lives to such an extent that now we hear his songs, we hear about his life in all the remote corners of the world, like Gainesville and Buenos Aires. Right? So thank you. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then I'll have to go for a meeting.
Muchísimas gracias, estático. Ya tomé muchas notas. Sorry, this is very static, very nice. I took a lot of notes.
Muchas gracias.
I'd love to listen to you sing some of these songs, because when you sing, it seems like like a suka, the bird who touches the fruits becomes sweeter. So, but I will let the questions maybe have a room for it.
Okay, if there are no, yes. Okay,
Krishna Shakti, ¿querés traducir?
Yes, yes.
Mahasundari, ¿querés preguntarlo?
Yes, I can ask.
Okay, ask.
I heard the song, the Jayorada Madhava song, by Jagjit Singh, Indian singer. Yes, Indian singer, and he sings a part of the song that I never heard before by Srila Prabhupada. That is Murali Manohara, and it ends with another 2 phrases.
Yeah, it's something he did, which is fine. Krishna's names are beautiful. Manohar means beautiful. Murali means one who plays the beautiful boy who plays the flute. Murali Manohara.
My question is if that was written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all that part, or it's something new that.
I don't think so. The popular song is Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. And then Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari was added. But these songs, you can keep adding and deleting stuff as long as they stick to Siddhanta. In fact, let me see if I can show you a song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself writes and then cuts out and writes and cuts out. Someday I hope we are able to all get together and sing all of these songs together. They are such beautiful songs. And
I take that. I just take that. Yes, let's do it.
I don't think you can sing songs on Zoom, so you have to wait a few years. You see this song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, with notes in the margin. I know you cannot read Bangla, but you see he cuts out one line and he adds something in the corner. You see that?
Yes. Yes.
This song, it starts with the line, Dakhine nitai chand vame gadadhar Gate adoito srini Nasho Chatradhar, right? And then he wrote that whole song. And then later he added, Jayo Jayo Gora Chander Arati Kosho Janovi Tatovane Jagamanalo. He added that later. And then in the margin, he added much later, Narohari Adikori Chamoro Dulai Sanjaya Mukundo Basu Ghoshoganga. And so he wrote this song. First, he wrote Gaur Arati. There is a part 2 of that Arati. Jaya Jaya Radha Krishna Jugalamilam. Right. So
how beautiful. Thank you for that.
Songs are all transcendental, and Krishna's names are beautiful. And so reciting a few extra names of Sri Krishna doesn't hurt anybody.
You have to teach us those songs to us.
They're there. They are a part of standard programs everywhere. But one day Saraswati Thakur said that one day people will actually start learning Bangla to be able to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and sing these songs. Like, if I sing a Spanish song, I'd say Feliz Navidad, I can sing, I can enjoy the music, but if I don't understand everything, the song will not touch my heart. So similarly, I think that all of these songs, for it to touch your heart, a little bit of Bangla and a little bit of Sanskrit is good for you. And this is why Srila Prabhupada instituted that when we go through the Bhagavatam class, people actually recite the Sanskrit and the Bangla. So that, something sticks.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mahasundari. Any other questions?
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Pueden hacerla y Krishna Shakti se los traduce en vivo. Levanten la mano o ábrense el micrófono, por favor.
Yeah. Krishna Shakti, maybe you can speak a couple of minutes about the book and share the link for those who are interested.
Sure. I will speak in English, and the translators will translate. So this is certainly, my first attempt in translating a book to Spanish, and it's definitely far from being a perfect translation. So what I would like to ask humbly from all the Vaishnavas is to please feel free to send me feedback about this essay. It's a small book about a talk that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave in the 1800s when he was 31 years old. And then he wrote in British English, which is an old way of writing in English. And from that, I translated it to Spanish. So if you kindly please send me pieces that you think that, oh, this is confusing, And I will certainly make sure to give you credit for that. I appreciate that. So my email is krishshakti, and I will post it here on the chat. krishshakti@gmail.com. If you prefer to get in touch via WhatsApp, here is my WhatsApp number.
Gracias, Krishna. Lo bueno que está en Kindle, quiere decir que lo pueden bajar en sus computadoras y lo pueden leer ya mismo, ¿no? Así que está muy bueno. Gracias.
And we are also working to make these books available on Mercado Libre.
Haribo.
Yes, and it will only be launched on Gaur Purnima Day. So, you can pre-order now, but the official date that we will have it available to everyone will be March 18th, correct?
Yes, that's right. And I will put my WhatsApp number here. So in case anybody wants to get in touch with me, this is the number. If you write in Spanish, then I'll have somebody translate it for me. But 773-270-1008 WhatsApp number. And my email is abhi@ivs.edu. Actually, I will direct those emails to Krishna Shakti Prabhu, admin@ivs.edu, so that anybody writes in Spanish, I can get a translation.
Cool. Very nice. Thank you so much. That's fantastic, amazing work, and we are available for us in Spanish. We normally takes 100 years to get things translated to Spanish, so really nice. It's already written and translated at the same time. So thank you. I have here Garuda and Krishnananda on the screen because they have a short question. They say, I don't know if you have a second for them.
Please.
And they speak English, so I think I can speak directly.
I can't hear you.
Se te escucha bien, Krishnananda. Oh. Krishna parece que tiene otro plan. Está ahí, ya está en el chat.
Now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. Solo agradecerle. Thank you very much. And I know you have to go right now, so maybe we can have part 2. I am very interested to know how Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings again the Bhakti Yoga, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Cómo es que él fight with all the brahmanas that were please, Krishna Shakti. ¿Cómo es que él luchó con los brahmanas?
How did he fight with the brahmanas?
He did not fight with brahmanas. He only fought with corrupt people.
Okay, I understand. But maybe
we have a picture of Bhaktivinoda Thakur on the altar. But in his letter, he said that in one pilgrimage they were trying to pickpocket him, and so he got into some fist fight. Dishum.
Okay, so maybe in part 2 we can talk. You can talk about those topics that los cuales él trajo o peleó con esos brahmanas corruptos.
So maybe in the second part you can talk about how did he deal with these corrupted brahmanas.
The short answer is, if it was favorable towards bhakti, then he would fight. If it was unfavorable, he wouldn't fight.
Okay. Okay. So
next time, what we could do, Gandhini, is Bhaktivinoda Thakur has, in one of his books, he writes about this thing called spontaneous spirituality. spontaneous spirituality, and he mentions 12 parts of spontaneous spirituality. He says, Bhakti is inherent in every jiva, right? And just as birds sing before the sun comes out, nobody tells them the sun is coming out. It's still dark, but they sing. Nobody teaches a child how to drink mother's milk. They just know. Similarly, bhakti is something that we just know. And even if you take away all religion, all culture, all philosophy, there will still be 12 things that every individual soul has that affirms their love for, Bhagavan. So we could talk about spontaneous spirituality next time. Okay, I really have to go. I'm late for my next meeting.
Sorry.
Thank you for sitting in.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you.
I should have organized that you stayed 2 hours, but Matilda, when he came to talk, it was 2 hours and a half. I forgot that in South America, 1 hour is way too short. First, people come late, and then there's a lot of questions. I mean, there is hundreds of questions more than people want to do. So, but the good thing about it is that we can have a second. We have hankering for more. We want to hear the songs sung by you. We want to have all the answers, all the questions, and so on and so forth. So,
please. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some basic information about Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Of course, his life is quite deep, and it wasn't the forum to get into this stuff. And I'm very grateful to those who took their time out to be here today, and I hope you got something out of it. Thank you to the organizers. Please take care, be well, stay safe during COVID. Hare Krishna.
we are going to talk about when is the next one. I'm sure people are going to start asking me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, gracias a todos. Gracias a todos. Thank you for everyone for being here. Sorry that I know you have a lot of questions, but now at least you may have a taste.
Sé que tienen muchas preguntas, pero por lo menos ya le tienen un saborcito de cómo se trata, de qué se trata la cosa, y nos preparamos para el próximo encuentro.
Si tienen if you have questions,
si tienen preguntas,
por favor guárdenlas ahora.
Yes, keep them.
Escríbanlas ahora, porque así ya así las tienen para la próxima. Bueno, gracias otra vez. Y gracias a Daityeya Prabhu por la traducción. Gracias a Mala por estar ahí disponible. El Zoom, pensé que podía uno elegir a quién quería escuchar, si a uno o al otro, ¿no? Pero parece que todavía eso no está. Pero
sí, se pudo.
No, pero no se puede elegir quién querés escuchar. Se escuchaba simultáneamente.
Sí. No, podía elegir. Yo elegí, si querías elegir, podía escuchar solo a Daityeya, y si no, solo a Krishna.
Bueno, entonces...
Krishna.
No, pero lo que Gandini dice, me parece que lo que Gandini está diciendo es que al principio había 2 traductores, Malaprajarana y Daityeya, y uno podía elegir quién quería que te tradujera, uno de ellos 2.
No, vos podías elegir uno solo, si vos querías escuchar en español o en inglés.
Claro.
Disculpe
cuando escuchabas el español, te escuchaban juntos.
Claro.
Claro, yo estaba escuchando, nosotros escuchamos a Daityeya en español.
Claro.
Pero si lo pongo más si los que quieran quedarse a practicar un poquito la tecnología nos serviría para el futuro, porque siempre es un lío. Y es bueno tener 2 opciones, porque a veces uno se cansa también, ¿no?
Sí,
entonces,
si alguien se puede quedar, sería bueno, porque hoy lo probamos, pero éramos Gandini y yo nada más. Entonces, entre 2 era difícil probarlo.
Necesitamos 2 o 3 personas que practiquen. Sí, Krishna.
Gandini, ¿podrías poner el link de YouTube aquí en el chat? Así lo tenemos todos.
Sí, ahí lo pongo.
Gracias.
Ahí lo pongo. Es de Krishna. Bueno, no sé, los que quieran probarse, yo lo voy a poner Mala Prajarana. ¿Te podés quedar un segundo para ponerte también como intérprete y probar?
Claro, no hay problema.
A ver, perdeme un segundo. Pero está.
Tengo 2 cuentas que estoy usando desde el celular.
Entonces, a
Es que
ver.
estaba aprovechando para, mientras que tengo en la computadora, estoy conectado a la computadora y estoy conectando desde el celular.
A ver ahí. Bueno, gracias a todos los que vinieron por su tiempo. Fíjense si pueden escuchar, si pueden elegir a Mala o a Daitiella. Y yo voy a hablar en inglés para probar.
Gandhi.
¿Quieres encerrar el live de YouTube?